If you have applied lots of effects to a clip and made several adjustments to specific controls, you might have a long list of headings and controls to navigate in the Effect Controls panel, talking about over here. At the lower right corner of the Effect Controls panel, you can use the Filters Property menu. That's this right here. There are three options you can choose from. Show all properties. This is the default option. All effects and controls are displayed. Show only keyframe properties. Only properties you've added keyframes to are displayed. And show only edited properties. Only properties you've modified from their default values are displayed. So this might be helpful if you're working on a large project. We're now going to talk a little bit about working with keyframe interpolation. There are several methods. Linear. This is a default method of keyframe. I don't know if have we done this already? I don't know. This is familiar. I don't know if we've done this or if I just read it before. And so if we've done this already, I'm sorry. If we haven't, listen up. The default method of keyframe interpolation is linear. It gives a uniform rate of change between keyframes. Bezier, this gives the most control. Auto Bezier creates a smooth rate of change throughout the keyframe. Continuous Bezier, this option is similar to the auto but provides some manual controls. And then hold, this is only for temporary time-based properties. So there you go, there's your interpolation. So you can use, you can use a keyframe preset to quickly add a feeling of inertia to a clip motion. For example, you create a ramp-up effect for speed by right-clicking a keyframe and choosing ease in or ease out. Ease in is used for approaching a keyframe. Ease out is used when leaving a keyframe. When you choose ease in or ease out, a Bezier interpolation is applied to the keyframe. You'll learn more about applying interpolation methods in keyframes in lesson 12. I know that gives you something to look forward to. So we're going to continue working with the 0-4 sequence, the 0-4 scale. So select the second video clip in the sequence. That would be this one. In the Effects Controls panel, locate the rotation and scale properties. So you see there's the rotation and scale properties. Click the Disclosure button next to Scale Property. And then select the Scale Property heading to select the scale keyframes. And reveal the control handles and velocity graphs in the Effects Control panel's timeline. So right here. You might want to increase the height of the Effects Controls panel to make room for the extra controls. I think I got enough room. Don't be overwhelmed by the new numbers and graphs. Once you understand one of these controls, you'll understand them all because they use a common design. The graph makes it easier to view the results of keyframe interpolation adjustments. For example, a straight line means a steady speed without acceleration. In other words, you're using a linear keyframe. Click the background of the Effect Controls panel timeline to deselect the keyframes. So we don't want anything selected. They will change from blue, which means it's selected, to gray, which is unselected. Right-click the first scale-free keyframe with the scale heading and choose Ease Out. So I had to click up here on the corner to display this right here, which you want to display so you can see your keyframe. So right-click this first keyframe, and we're going to choose Ease Out. Keyframe is partially obscured by the left edge of the timeline. Right-click the second scale keyframe and choose Ease In. The graph now, mine don't look like what it's supposed to. The graph should show a curved line which translates as a gradual acceleration and deceleration of the animation. You can experiment by dragging the blue Bezier handles in the Effect Controls panel to see their effects. Let's do that. Let's just drag some things. And then let's play it and see what it does. Ooh, exciting. So, the steeper the curve you create, the more sharply the animation's movement or speed increases. After experimenting, you can choose Edit, Undo repeatedly if you don't like the changes, or just keep them like you have them if you like them. So now we're going to talk about applying the auto reframe effect. Once upon a time, back when I was your age, all screens were 4:3. Then they were all manner of aspect ratios until they settled eventually on 16:9 as a standard delivery aspect ratio excuse me, for television shows and online video distribution platforms today. This standard is sometimes written as 1.78 to 1, that is, 1.78 times wider than the height. Theatrical cinema releases tend to be wider, with two standard aspect ratios being 1.85 to 1 and 2.39 to 1. It's common for major film studios to produce multiple versions of a film with different aspect ratios and color standards intended for several traditional video standards. Still, these are usually close to 16:9 or 4:3. With the development of popular social media platforms, in particular on smartphones, demand for dramatically different aspect ratios has returned. To help you repurpose sequences, Premiere Pro has an auto reframe workflow. You can largely automate the process of converting a finished sequence from one aspect ratio to another. The standout feature of this workflow is that Premiere Pro analyzes the visuals in your clips and then applies and configures the auto reframe effect for each clip, which automatically keeps points of interest, such as faces, on screen. You will want to check and adjust results, but this can be a huge time saver if you intend to deliver your content on multiple platforms. So we're going to try that now. Let's open sequence 05, auto reframe. Play the sequence, so let's go back here, see what it looks like. The character moves around the screen quite a lot. Sequences crop the edges of clips that don't fit the frame. If you were to nest this sequence in another sequence and manually add keyframes, it would take quite some time. I'm going to pause that. So with the timeline panel active or the sequence selected in the project panel, choose Sequence Auto Reframe, Sequence Auto Reframe Sequence, and that will open this dialog box. When you click Create in this dialog box, Premiere Pro creates a new separated sequence based on the settings you choose. The original sequence will not be affected. Here are the settings. You have sequence name. Give the new sequence a name. By default, the new aspect ratio is added. Target aspect ratio. Specify new aspect ratio. You can repeat this process and produce multiple sequences with different aspect ratios. Motion tracking. Set the number of keyframes that will be used to follow the motion in the sequence. For slower, smoother movements, you would choose slower motion. And for faster action, choose faster motion. Must be why they named it. Showing you the different aspect ratios here. And then you have clip nesting. Choose whether or not to nest the clips. There can be only one motion effect on each clip, and if you have motion keyframes on your clips already, they will be replaced in the new sequence unless you choose to nest the clips. If you do nest your clips, however, you'll lose any transition effects between them. Leave their settings at the default for now and click Create. Premiere Pro performs visual analysis of the sequence. The new sequence appears in the project panel inside a new bin called Auto Reframe Sequences, and it opens in the timeline panel. right there. You see that? Let's click it, and there it is. And here it is. There's the one that we created. Let's look how it's different. Square. So play that. Select the clip in the timeline. And look in the effects controls panel. The motion effect is disabled and auto reframe effect is applied. So you see right here, that's where it's talking about. All of this is disabled and this is what's been applied. You can use auto reframe controls to make overall adjustments to the results of the effect, or select overwrite generated path. And many individual position keyframes will appear in the effect controls panel that you can adjust one by one or delete. So guess what this is? Let's see. This is a great time to save what we're doing. Click File, Save, and this ends this video.